Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 1 of January 2025. The government has approved laptop and tablet imports for 2025 with a potential mid-year review to avoid shortages. It plans to reduce imports by 5% annually to be replaced by local manufacturing by second half of 2025. Import approvals are valid from January 1st to December 31st, 2025. Import authorization was monitored to promote local production. About half a dozen global private equity funds, including Blackstone, Carlyle, TPG, New Mountain Capital, and Hill House Partners, have shown interest in acquiring a majority stake in Chennai and Texas-based healthcare BPO Access Healthcare. Non-binding bids were submitted a week ago, underscoring the heightened focus on consolidation in the space. A majority stake sale is expected to value Access Healthcare at $1.4 to $1.5 billion. Investment bank Jefferies is advising Access Health. The company, founded in 2012 by Anurag Jain, is a leading provider of revenue cycle management or RCM services, specializing in medical billing, coding, and accounts receivable management. It has 27,000 employees and 20 global delivery centers with operations in 9 Indian cities. The RBI's temporary move to allow banks to offer higher interest rates on FCNRB deposits to attract foreign capital has seen limited response. Bankers cite the rupee's decline, a narrowing interest rate gap, and sufficient existing spreads as reasons for low uptake, despite the revised ceiling. The RBI allowed banks to raise deposits at a spread of 400 basis points or an alternate reference rate or ARR for 1 to 3 years, as against 250 basis points spread earlier. For deposits between 3 and 5 years, the spread is raised to 500 basis points over ARR against a cap of 350 basis points. The Reserve Bank of India has enabled full KYC prepaid payment instructions or PPIs like PhonePe or Google Pay to transfer or receive funds in wallet through any third-party UPI applications. Currently, UPI payments from or to a bank account can be made using the bank's UPI app or any third-party app. However, UPI payments from or to a PPI can only be made through the mobile app provided by the PPI issuer. The RBI has set up a committee on framework for responsible and ethical enablement of artificial intelligence in the financial sector. Dr. Pushpak Bhattacharya will be the chairperson of the committee. The committee will assess the current level of adoption of AI in financial services globally and in India, and review regulatory and supervisory approaches on AI with focus on financial sector globally. Further, the committee will submit its report within 6 months from the date of its first meeting. Hindustan Unilever is taking control of its robust distribution network by directly supplying products to Kirana stores in Mumbai, with plans to roll out in Delhi and other top metros. The strategy is part of a wider attempt by India's largest fast-moving consumer goods company to reduce the supply time from 3 days to less than 24 hours and ease credit limitations of Kirana stores, which generate 3/4 of its sales. Under the new model, distributors will only handle orders and payments from their neighborhood stores, while the company will handle the entire back-end logistics from warehousing to delivery. Adani Enterprises Limited or AEL is set to exit its 25-year-old joint venture with Wilmar International in a deal worth around $2 billion. The funds will be used by AEL for its core infrastructure platforms such as energy, utilities, transport and logistics. Singapore-based Wilmar is seeking strategic investors to replace Adani. AEL plans to offload its nearly 44% stake in Adani Wilmar Limited in two parts. It will first sell about 13% stake to meet public shareholding norms. The promoters currently hold 88% of the company. Wilmar will acquire the remaining 31% stake, which will increase its holding to nearly 75% from 44%. The center's infrastructure project monitoring system is undergoing a revamp to enhance milestone tracking in the pre-construction stage and provide information on every step of the project. The updated system, set for launch next month, will identify potential slippages so that costs and timelines remain within approved limits. It will also capture project start and tender award dates compared with the board approval date recorded previously. Additionally, project completion date will be derived based on the start date. Electric scooter maker Ather Energy has received approval from the Securities and Exchange Board of India to launch its initial public offering. The Bengaluru-based company will become the second EV manufacturer in India to go public. The proposed IPO includes a fresh issue of equity shares worth up to Rs 3,100 crore and an offer for sale of up to 2.2 crore equity shares by existing shareholders. RBI has mandated the reporting of transactions in gold derivatives undertaken by banks and their customers. Banks must report all over-the-counter or OTC transactions in gold derivatives undertaken by them in domestic markets, International Financial Services Centre and outside India to the Trade Repository of Clearing Corporation of India Limited or CCIL with effect from February 1, 2025. The reporting formats must be as indicated by CCIL with the prior approval of the RBI. The government has decided to extend the validity of FCRA registration certificates. The validity of registration certificates of entities whose validity was extended till 31st December 2024 and whose renewal is pending will stand extended till 31st March 2025 or till the date of disposal of renewal application, whichever is earlier. Similarly, the validity of FCRA entities whose 5-year validity period is expiring from 1st Jan 2025 to 31st March 2025 will stand extended up to 31st March 2025. The new year would be a make or break one for the world of money gaming in India. 2024 closed on a grim note. GetMega, a firm which raised over $20 million from institutional and angel investors to grow its business and marshal lakhs of subscribers, has shut down. This marks the first big casualty of a crippling GST and the uncertainty that looms over the trade. While the statute is yet to be tested on money gaming companies, there is a lurking fear that the provision could make life more difficult for gaming companies. A betting platform with several employees and hosting unauthorized games could come under the definition of organized. Drug makers in India may soon face stricter enforcement of quality standards. The revised Schedule M, which details manufacturing practices and quality requirements, will come into effect on January 1st. The industry had expected an extension but must now comply. The enforcement includes audits and risk-based inspections to ensure compliance with the new standards. Promoter-driven strategic investment firms and hospital operators are scouting for stressed healthcare assets that they can acquire through the insolvency and bankruptcy process, as private equity firms often edge them out in the race for good assets by offering lofty valuations. Despite the potential risks of lengthy litigation and financial and operational issues, assets facing bankruptcy proceedings are much cheaper in a market where hospital properties command premium valuations, an enterprise value of more than 25 times the EBITDA on an average. The average valuation of listed hospitals is around 27 times. There have been several such deals in the past year and a half where strategic investors have acquired stressed assets. The National Payments Corporation of India, or NPCI, has lifted the UPI user onboarding limit for WhatsApp Pay. This essentially means now WhatsApp can extend its UPI services to every users of India. You can use WhatsApp UPI to conduct financial and non-financial transactions using Unified Payment Interface, or UPI. The revised and belated income tax return filing deadline has been extended by the Income Tax Department to January 15, 2025 for resident individuals. Many taxpayers received intimation for mismatch of transactions appearing in annual information statement and income or transactions reported in the income tax return. This extension will help taxpayers to check if any income or transactions is not reported or misreported in the income tax return and file revised returns. Capital Markets Regulator SEBI announced the launch of the Mutual Funds Lite, or MF Lite framework to simplify the compliance process for entities launching passively managed mutual fund schemes. The framework is designed to encourage new entrants, promote innovation, and foster investment diversification in the mutual fund industry. The SEBI said the Mutual Fund Lite framework will apply to passive schemes, including index funds, exchange-traded funds, funds of funds, and others specified by the regulator. It intends to streamline processes and reduce barriers for entities focused solely on passive investment products, a move expected to increase market liquidity and ease entry for new players. Vodafone Idea aims to launch 5G mobile broadband service in March 2025 with competitively priced plans. Vodafone Idea will initially roll out 5G in India's top 75 cities, focusing on industrial hubs and high data usage zones. The company plans to enhance 4G coverage and invest in dealer commissions to attract customers from Reliance Jio and Bharti Airtel. India is diversifying its export basket, focusing on products like banana, ghee, solar PV modules, and alcoholic beverages. The goal is set to increase the global share of these products, targeting markets such as the US, EU, China, Japan, and more. Export revenues are expected to surge due to government incentives and global demand. Axle has raised $650 million for its 8th India Fund. With this, the venture capital firm's total investment commitment to India will reach close to $3 billion. It had raised another $650 million for its 7th round in March 2022. Axle, which earned a 35 times return on its $20 million investment in Swiggy after the food delivery platform's listing in November, is aiming to increase its focus towards India. Its investment in Black Buck, which was also listed in November, has yielded gains of 4 to 5 times. Viacom 18 Media, a media and entertainment company, has become a direct subsidiary of Reliance Industries Limited. This shift follows the conversion of over 24.61 crore compulsory convertible preference shares into an equivalent number of equity shares. Specialized quick commerce models are emerging as new hotspots, with at least half a dozen ventures primed to raise capital. Startups enabling quick commerce deliveries are also closing deals. 10-minute food delivery startup Swish, which is negotiating a $15 to $20 million round to expand operations in Bengaluru and other metros, has held talks with Elevation Capital, Peak 15 Partners and other global funds, including from the UK. A Morgan Stanley report from November estimated the quick commerce market at anywhere between $25 billion to $55 billion by 2030, depending on favorability. It is estimated at around $7 billion at the end of 2024. As India enters the new year, the government has prioritized the simplification of direct and indirect tax policies, aiming to reduce compliance burden and foster a taxpayer-friendly environment. After significant progress in 2024, including reviewing the Income Tax Act 1961 and initiating discussions on GST rate rationalization, 2025 is set to witness transformative changes in the nation's tax ecosystem. With a focus on rate rationalization, technological upgrades, and streamlined compliance, 2025 promises significant progress in India's tax policies. These measures will not only simplify taxation for individuals and businesses, but also reinforce India's commitment to a transparent and efficient tax ecosystem. The recent tribunal ruling mandates that family trusts cannot add non-relatives as beneficiaries without facing tax implications. The decision affects the flexibility of trusts in succession planning, emphasizing that partnership interests qualify as shares and are taxable under Section 56, subsection 2, clause 10. Family trusts, often used to ring-fence wealth and enable smoother succession planning by aging patriarchs of Indian households, will not have the freedom to add cousins, nephews, niece, or other non-relatives as beneficiaries in future. If a trust deed gives trustees the liberty to include such persons even years later, the trust could be taxed today on all properties, securities, and funds that have been transferred to it, according to the recent tribunal decision this week. Even if all the current beneficiaries are sons, daughters, and their spouses, the trust would be taxed upfront if trustees simply have the freedom to make non-relatives as beneficiaries at a later date. The GSTN has issued an advisory to inform that Form GST SPL 02 is made available in the GST portal and Form GST SPL 01 will be available soon in the GST portal. Under the waiver scheme for a demand notice or statement or order which has been issued under Section 73 for the tax periods between July 2017 and March 2020, the taxpayers are required to file an application either in Form GST SPL 01 or SPL 02 in GST portal accordingly. Adani Group's chairperson Gautam Adani emphasized capital deployment as the primary challenge and highlighted technology and talent as vital for sustainable growth. Adani Group plans to utilize capital from recent fundraisers by focusing on technological advancements and talent development. The company will increase campus recruitment, establish career tracks, and offer internal job rotations and training programs. The Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs has issued a circular to provide clarity on several issues related to the goods and services tax treatment of vouchers. This circular aims to resolve ambiguities surrounding the classification, taxation, and redemption of vouchers under the GST framework. Considering the principle laid out in the said circular, it emerges that where the voucher is issued for the purpose of redemption in respect of supply of goods and or services, and there is no express or implied agreement, oral or written, between the issuer of voucher and redeemer for payment of any amount or charges by the redeemer to the voucher issuer, in case of non-redemption of the voucher, it cannot be considered that non-redemption of voucher by the redeemer tantamounts to supply of services. The year 2025 may witness significant activity in the fixed income space as interest rates are expected to decline. With equity markets consolidating, more investors are likely to explore fixed income options. Fixed income instruments provide a cushion to the investment portfolio. Investors should invest in fixed deposits and other fixed income instruments now and lock the rate before rate cuts takes place. The much anticipated interest rate cut cycle may be delayed, but experts believe the Reserve Bank of India will reduce rates in 2025. Reliance Industries Limited, India's largest corporate by revenues, has raised $3 billion from 11 banks in what is the largest such deal by the company in almost 2 years. The 5-year loan was priced at 120 basis points over the 3-month secured overnight financing rate last month. It includes $450 million denominated in Japanese yen as the oil to telecom conglomerate looks to shore up its funds ahead of repayments coming up this year. The company has already drawn down about $700 million of the amount lent by these banks and plans to tap more as its requirements come up mostly in the current quarter. Adani Enterprises, ICAI Mobility, JBM Ecolife, Greencell Mobility and Chartered Speed are among the front runners in the latest tender floated by state-run Convergence Energy Services Limited for supplying, operating and maintaining electric buses under the Pradhan Mantri E-Bus Seva scheme. The tender is the first of several scheduled to be floated by the government to deploy 10,000 electric buses under the Pradhan Mantri E-Bus Seva scheme and support their operations over the coming decade. The total cost of the scheme is estimated at Rs 57,613 crore. As many as 10 companies including 4 vehicle makers and half a dozen operators and aggregators bid for the tender for 4,558 buses pegged at Rs 8,000 crore. Zepto is preparing to file for an IPO by March to April 2025 and has received approval to move its holding entity from Singapore to India. The company is also finalizing independent directors and deliberating an IPO size and bankers. It aims to become the first independent quick commerce firm to go public amid scrutiny over local FDI compliance. SEBI has been issuing various circulars and directions to stock exchanges and clearing corporations. In order to enable the users to have access to all applicable circulars and directions at one place, SEBI has prepared Master Circular for Stock Exchanges and Clearing Corporations covering the relevant circulars and communications pertaining to stock exchanges and clearing corporations issued by SEBI up to October 31, 2024. Earlier, the RBI proposed the introduction of a beneficiary account name lookup facility for the real-time gross settlement system and National Electronic Funds Transfer System. The RBI has now decided to put a similar facility that would enable a remitter to verify the beneficiary bank account name before initiating a transaction using the RTGS or NEFT system. Accordingly, the National Payments Corporation of India has been advised to develop the facility and onboard all banks. FMCG major Hindustan Unilever is understood to be in talks to acquire direct-to-consumer beauty startup Minimalist in a deal valued at about Rs 3,000 crore or $350 million. That's well above Minimalist's last known valuation of around $75 million. HUL's investment arm Unilever Ventures invested in Minimalist Series A round in 2021 and holds a minor stake. The founders of Minimalist, Jaipur-based siblings Mohit Yadav and Rahul Yadav, together own 83.7% of the company, while the earliest backer, Peak 15, holds a 6% stake. The company had raised a $2 million seed round in 2019 from Peak 15 and then a $15 million Series A 2 years after that.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.